I have no idea why I chose that, but anyone who gives a sermon says a prayer, and this just came straight into my head. So let's see how it goes, shall we? But this is a question I feel we all need to answer. Who am I? What is my identity? And so I'd like to start with a quote from True Father. And it's this. It says, and I've added the italics, the brackets. If the members of a family unite in true love, they automatically create harmony and unity. In this way, true love, true life, and true lineage are passed on through the generations. The grandparents, that's the first gen, convey the tradition of true love to the parents, second gen. The parents bequeath the same life of true love to their children, third gen. In their sibling relationships, the children take after their grandparents and parents by living for the sake of others and forming original relationships of true love. But there was a second paragraph to this. And it says this: when this happens, the family becomes a heavenly family. Such a family may be called an original family or a true family. It is a family that fulfills God's purpose and ideal. Unfortunately, if even one of these components is missing, it is impossible to create an original family that can be a unit for the heavenly kingdom. And it was like, first of all, there's the carrot, right? And they get to the end, and there's the stick. So what should be our main focus? What is our core mission? Some may say we are an event management company, and in essence that's true. We put on large events, and but I would like to suggest that that is not our main focus. Yeah? So you're wondering, what is my main focus? Okay. Well, I would suggest that if you're a man, your main focus is to love your wife and your children and your parents. And if you're a woman, your main focus is to love your husband and your children and your parents. Now that doesn't mean we don't do anything else here. So we don't just become focused on our family, no. But what I am saying, especially in light of that last sentence, is what is our core mission? What is that something that we must really strive to fulfill? You know, many people will say, well, before you can love others, we must love ourselves. And if you read self-help books, that is the core of all of it. You've got to love yourself, yeah? If you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. But I feel this can be misunderstood. And it can, in some ways, cause us to turn inwards and focus on our own salvation. And when I reflected on that, I realized that actually we take care of ourselves by loving others. When we love others, we create an energy. That energy, of course, is love. And when we give out that love, it is reflected back. It is impossible to help someone else without helping yourself. It's a natural law. And so, as much as we have to focus on ourselves a bit, you know, I think even True Father said, you know, he focuses 95% on others, but you have to take care of yourself. But the focus is on loving others, and when we love others, that love is returned. It is impossible not to grow when we love others. And the same is true as if we don't love others, we stagnate. You can go to the gym, you can chill out with a nice film, you can read all the self-help books that you can find, but it is only when we act out of love and love others that we grow. But I'd also like to try and remind us why we must love our family, especially our spouse. When we joined the church, whether we agreed or whether we realized or not, we agreed to take part, to be responsible for resolving historical problems that go right back to Adam and Eve. Personally, when I joined the church, I didn't realize that. It took a few years before I understood that point. But that responsibility came to a clear conclusion when we agreed to let true parents pick our spouse. For example, I'm blessed to a German. We took upon ourselves the responsibility to help restore two warring countries, Germany and England. Our close ancestors probably killed each other. And when they went to the spirit world, they had those feelings inside. And we know from divine principle, once you're in the spirit world, it is so difficult to change. How do they change? They change through us. So when you look at Inga and me, do you see our love for each other? Do you think it was like this in the beginning? I can assure you, the Third World War was played out between us in the beginning. After 7 years of separation, after we were blessed, I thought, well, it can only get easier. Oh, no. No, it wasn't. But after 37 years of trying, I think we've been able to resolve a lot. And my father recently went to Spirit World. He joined my mother, who passed in 2006. And I would really like to believe that my parents, my ancestors, can now meet Inga's parents and her ancestors, and they can party all night without the feelings of resentment that maybe they had in the beginning because of fighting each other for so many years. And that is something that we have responsibility for. My point is that true parents put us together. There was a lot going on behind that decision. And it is only by loving our spouse that we can fulfill the historic reasons we come together. Our spouse is the person God works through the most to help us come closer to heaven. Yeah, I don't think there is a single person on the planet who has a greater ability to get us closer to God's heart than our spouse and our family. Now, of course, and I realize this may be a little bit more controversial, some people think that going to Champyong solves your problems. Certainly it helps. And the ancestor liberations that we've had, they've now become a part of our tradition. But it does not diminish a little bit the responsibility we have to change ourselves. It's not a quick fix. I feel it's a temporary release from spiritual pressure that then gives us the freedom to change ourselves. The important part for me is when we get home. What do? What do we change? Because you know from the words that Jesus says, if you don't change, 7 times 7 are going to come and give you a bad time. So I do believe that Champyong is a wonderful blessing that true parents have given us. But it is not just a quick fix. We still have the responsibility to change, and I feel the greatest change is when we love our spouse and family. When I look at the purpose of creation, I ask the question, why did God create the physical world? And recently I was looking at a series by Professor Brian Cox called The Planets. And when I watched that program, I was just in awe at what God did to create the foundation and the tools through which we can change. We don't change when we go to the spirit world. Well, we do, but it's a lot more difficult, we know. The tools are here on earth. The whole physical world was created so that we can create ourselves. And what is it that we need to create? Chapter 1, first blessing. We have to become perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect. And that is, we develop our love. So what stops us loving our spouse? It's our sin. It's as simple as that. When our sin blocks us from receiving God's love And because we're the blockage, we cannot pass it on to our family. So what is the value in knowing the principle? For me, in part, is to help me to identify what's going on in here and what's going on in here. And when what's going on up here and what's going on in here is not right, because I'm judging it against the principle, I know that I must change that thought. I must change that feeling. It's that important. Thoughts come to us from many sources, yeah? And I'm sure most of the thoughts, actually, they don't come from us. They come from people around us. They come from ancestors. Have you ever had the experience where you're just thinking something and a random thought comes into your mind? And it's not a good thought. At that moment, we have a choice. Do I have give and take with that thought in which I make it become a part of me? Or do I say no? Kick it away. We have an opportunity, and we're confronted with those choices every moment of every day. And that, for me, is why I find the principle so valuable. It helps me understand clearly what's right, what's wrong, and what's going on inside of me, and what I must change to become the person true parents and God want me to become. Next slide. Whether you are destined for heaven or hell is not determined by your beliefs or thoughts. It is determined by your daily life. Just knowing in your head what is good is not enough. However, thoughts precede action. And just like Father said, what is important is the standard of our daily life. It's what we do, not so much what we think. So I encourage you, therefore, to get your thoughts under control, to place the events in our life in perspective and get back to our central focus of being a good husband, a good wife, a good mother, a father, a good brother and a sister. At the end of the day, I believe it is the quality of our families that will change the world. And only when we see true families emerge will people seek to understand what it is that makes us so. And then we can help them based on our own experience. Do children listen to us when they're small? We can tell them what to do. They learn by what they see. They copy. And I think it's only when people begin to see true families emerge will they say, hang on, what's going on? I want a part of that. And so again, I come back to that central core mission, our core mission, our main focus is to love our husband, our wife, our children, our parents. And on that foundation we go out and then to love the rest of the world. So how far, here's a question for you, how far or how deep is your salvation? Okay, I'd like you to try something. Close your eyes, all of you. Close your eyes, quieten your heart, steady your breathing, stop thinking as best you can, and ask yourself this question, and then look for the response. And the question is, how close do I feel to God? And in one sense, the depth of that emotion, the depth of that feeling can give you some idea of our salvation, of how we're changing, of how we're coming close to God. Now, keeping your eyes closed, ask yourself another question. How close do I feel to my husband? How close do I feel to my wife? Okay, open your eyes. It's just that, you know, what is it like when you become one with God? You feel His heart, right? And when we're free, we find ourselves having these amazing experiences where our heart just explodes for no apparent reason. Sometimes I could be driving down a road and you just look out your window and you see creation and you feel a tear swell up in your eyes. You appreciate that God has given us. And I feel that as we come closer to God, we have more of these experiences it's not something that happens in the head, it's something that happens in the heart. Our emotion develops, it matures, and we begin to experience what God experiences. You know, in the spirit world, I've understood that you cannot look at anything without an emotional response. Here we can go down the road, our heart is completely silent. In the spiritual world, you can look at a bush, you can look at a tree, you will have an emotional response to that, positive or negative. But who ignites the greatest emotional feelings? It is when we see a person. It is people and it is God that stimulates that greatest emotional feeling. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Positive emotions. Love flowing through us, which we can then pass on to others. But I'd like to give you a simple analogy. Our mind, which is a tool, it's not us, it's a tool, it can have like several rooms. So the first room we go into, and what is that room? That's the room where we share people at work, friends we don't know so well. We tell them what's going on, what we saw on the TV, what we had for dinner the previous evening, yeah? But in the corner of the room, there's another door, and that door leads to another room. This is the room we share with our spouse, with our closest of friends. We share what we feel, what we're going through, yeah? And in the corner, there's another door. And in that door leads to a little room. And in there, we only share what's going on with Satan. We don't even let God inside that room. And so the principle, I feel, helps us to make that room smaller and smaller until we have just one room left where we invite everyone in, where we can share deeply with everyone. And I know it's like that because we're all descendants of Adam and Eve. We're all the result of the sin that happened at the very beginning. So don't worry, we all have those little rooms. Next one. When a man feels love, the feeling is not generated by itself. It awakens in his heart because of a particular woman. Likewise, the fire of love is kindled in the heart of a woman, not by itself alone, but by the man she loves. In other words, our love belongs to our partner. Thus, we must honor our partner's love as being even more precious than our own. Faith is the belief that God works through us. But faith is not a belief system. It is a spiritual quality that has energy and power to make things happen. Faith, coupled with a mind free from shadows, opens the door of our intuition. I always wondered when Father was talking about high noon and we must have no shadows. I thought, what's he talking about? Shadows in my mind. But I realized it's those dark things, those secrets, yeah? We have to become people who do not have those little dark shadows. Yeah. Okay. So let's determine between now and the next Sunday service to focus on fulfilling our core mission. And what is that? It is to love our spouse. Let's determine to love our children, not with expectations, but look to see their needs and help fulfill their desires. Let's concentrate on becoming a movement of loving families, for at the end of the day, that is how we change the world. And someone once wiser than me said, whoops, I missed that one. Yeah, as religious people, we don't look for results, but opportunities. Yeah? It's so easy sometimes we want results, right? It's opportunities that God needs. But that's the last quote. Solve the problem of the family and everything else will solve itself.